don't know me, I'm Sharon Klankes from the Division of Intellectual Disability, and it's a great pleasure to invite our guest speaker and his co-presenters to present some of the findings of his research. I'm just going to briefly introduce our speaker. Paul Christian is a performer with Access All Areas Theatre Company in London, where he serves as the deputy co-chair of the board. He's also a writer, researcher, and historian activist. As a member of the International Social History of Learning Disability Research Group based at the Open University, Paul has published articles about learning disability history and the process of co-research, and is currently involved in several projects in support of Black Lives Matter. And this is going to be the topic of his presentation. Our second presenter, Sue Ledger, is a visiting research fellow at the Open University. She's also a member of the Social History of Learning Disability Research Group and has co-researched and co-published with people with learning disabilities in a wide range, and including the work that Paul Christian has been doing in terms of Black Lives Matter. Liz Tilley, also on the line with us, is Professor of Learning Disability Studies at the School of Health, Wellbeing and Social Care, Faculty of Wellbeing, Education and Language Studies at the Open University. Liz has been researching the field of learning disabilities, health and social care and inclusion for 2 decades, and is particularly interested in historical perspective and how knowledge of the past can be used to improve things for people today and in the future, which I think everyone on this call would know is a particular focus area for us in our country. So welcome, Sue, Liz, and Paul, and I will hand over to Paul to start his lecture. Just to let our speakers know that we're keeping off our cameras because of possible problems, but you're most welcome to keep on yours. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you, Sharon. Lovely introduction. Now, so bear with us. Okay. Coming through clearly.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Can I just ask people to the camera that the sound is muted, because some noise from someone. Not sure where that's coming from. Okay, thank you. Please go ahead, Paul and Sue.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and a very big thank you for inviting us to be part of this lunchtime lecture. We feel very happy and honored to be here. My name is Paul Christian. I am a Black British man who was born in London, UK. I have lived with the label of learning disability since I was a child. I am proud of my Jamaican heritage. I am an actor and board member with Learning Disability Theatre Company, Access All Areas. I am a researcher, writer, and historian activist. I am leading on a number of projects in support of Black Lives Matter. I am doing this work with Sue Ledger, who is my co-researcher and co-writer. Sue will introduce herself next.
Thanks, Paul. Hello, everyone. I'm Sue, and I'm a researcher working with the Open University. Before completing my PhD, I worked as a manager in community-based health and social care services for people with learning disabilities and their families. Paul and I are working together on a number of projects in support of Black Lives Matter. In the past, we have researched and written together about life story work, learning disability history, and the process of doing inclusive research.
Sue and I both are members of the International Social History of Learning Disability Research Group based at the Open University. Liz is a co-chair of this group and has supported our work. Liz will introduce herself now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Liz, and I'm a Professor of Learning Disability Studies in the School of Health, Wellbeing and Social Care at the Open University. And for the past 10 years, I've co-chaired the Social History of Learning Disability group with a self-advocate called Ian Davis. And that group has a long tradition of supporting inclusive research. I'll now hand you back to Paul.
Thanks, Liz. The title of our talk is Being Part of History, Being Part of Activism, and Exploring the Lives and Experiences of Black people with learning disabilities. I shared an earlier version of this presentation at your annual network symposium back in November 2022. I am very pleased to join you again and to share the progress that I have made since then. What I have to say will take about 35 minutes. I will also be showing 2 short films. I will talk about 3 projects that I'm leading on in support of Black Lives Matter. I will finish our presentation by explaining how the idea of intersectionality has helped me with this work. At the end, there will be time for a few questions. I have written this presentation with Sue. I have cerebral palsy, so at times my voice might get tired. If this happens, I will kindly hand over to my co-researcher to help me with some of the reading. In 2022, I wrote an article with Sue. It was published in the British Journal of Learning Disabilities. It gives more of a detail about our work.
I'll get the card. Sit down.
My slides and links to publications will be available after the presentation. Before I start, we thought it would be a great idea if we could take time to quickly say hello to each other. And as we are an international group, to share some pictures of our home communities. So I can start. My name is Paul. I am joining today from Sue's house. We both live in a part of London called Hackney. It's near the city centre. Hackney is a lovely area with lots of bars and cafes. Many people from Africa and the Caribbean live in Hackney. The Hackney Council is one event that really celebrates this.
And I live not too far away in a place called Barnet, which is in the suburbs of North London. It's also a very diverse area with people with from a wide range of ethnic and religious backgrounds living here. I'd say it's a fairly quiet neighbourhood, but with a strong sense of community. Interestingly, the Coney Hatch Asylum, which was opened in 1851, is based in Barnet. And at the time, it was the largest institution in Europe. And many people with mental health problems and learning disabilities lived in that institution until it was closed in the 1990s. And like many other of these long-stay hospitals or institutions in the UK, the site has now been converted into luxury flats. Back to you, Paul.
Thanks, Liz. So now it's up to you, wonderful people, to say hello. Some of you may have had a chance to bring along a picture or two of your home community brought up, but please, no worries at all if you don't have a picture. We would still really love you to join in.
Yes, and with that, there's an invitation for us to all turn on our cameras just for a moment. And at that point, people can volunteer to share their pictures. And I wonder if perhaps you could take down the presentation, Paul and Sue, so that we can see people's faces, because at the present time, the presentation would, obscure people's faces.
If I can do that. Sorry.
And then
Sorry, has that gone down yet? No, it's not.
no, it's still shared.
Not giving me minimize things. Sorry. Shall I just stop the share then, Sharon?
Yes, please. That's perfect.
Great.
So I will just try and perhaps this volunteer would like to just share their pictures, because I can't really see people's hands. Anybody wanting to share a picture? Or if you don't have a picture, just to let our visitors know where you are in the Western Cape.
Happy to share.
Hi, Sharon. I'll go first. Oh, okay.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Go.
No, go ahead, Zara.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'm from a place called Simonstown. So it's a little Navy town. It was actually a British Navy town. And I had a lovely picture of our home, which is on the main road, but I just can't seem to find it. So that's me.
Thank you so much, Nasira, one of my favorite places. And then next presentation. Thanks, Nasira.
I'll go next. I've got a bag here. I'm hoping you can all see it. Oh, it's not showing up. I think, wait.
Oh,
Can you
we can
it?
see it, Melanie. We can.
No, it keeps disappearing. Oh, that is a pity. Well,
If
it's
you
a
hold
bag.
it up to your face, Melanie, we could see it when it was directly in front of
Shall
your
I
face.
hold it? Oh, okay. All right. It's got some
Okay, it's disappeared,
pictures.
but we got glimpses of it. Please go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. It's got pictures of the flowers that are found on the mountains around us in Cape Town. And I live in Mowbray, and where I live, I can look up and see the mountain.
Thank you.
The mountain, the sea, flowers, definitely Cape Town type words coming through. Shall we have one last person?
Lovely.
Yeah.
Hi, Sharon. I will share. Okay. Hi, Paul and Sue and Liz. I'm Tony. I live in the very leafy suburb of Rondebosch, where UCT is a neighbor. And what I love most about Rondebosch is the majestic mountain that sits right in front of us, which is very, very calming. So that's fun.
Thank you, Tony. You'll hear the word mountain comes up a lot. We feel very cocooned in our mountainous little province. So thanks for that, and back to you, Liz, Sue, and Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. It is great to meet you all again and to hear a little bit more about the communities that you are joining us from. So now we have met each other, I will start to begin our presentation. In May 2020, George Floyd was killed by a policeman in America. This made me very sad about what is happening to Black people across the world. I wanted to help end racism. I really wanted to do some work that would support Black people to be heard and to take part. I wanted to help the Black Lives Matter movement. I am doing this work with Sue, who is supported by Liz and the Open University. Sue and I both met over 10 years ago when I was an actor in a film about the life of a woman with learning disabilities called Maple Cooper. Sue's daughter was also in the film too, and this is how we met. Maple Cooper was sent to live in a big institution as a child and stayed there for many years. When she got out, she wrote her life story and traveled the world to campaign for the rights of people with learning disabilities. Sue and I were both inspired by Maple's story. We stayed in touch and started to research and write together. When George Floyd was killed, we both supported the Black Lives Matter protest that happened in London. We talked about why there's still so much racism in the world. I asked Sue if she would kindly work with me on my ideas to really support Black Lives Matter. I would now like to share the first film. This is the offer video from my 2022 article. In this short film, I give an overview of 3 projects that I have led on. After the film, I will say a bit more about each of these. Sharon, please can you play film 1? Thank you.
And I'll stop the share. Sharon, I'm not sure if there's any sound on that.
Thanks, Sue. Let me just check, can others hear it? I can hear it from my side.
No, Sharon, what you might need to do is you might need to come out of sharing, and when you go back in, I think it'll be on the right-hand side of the screen, there should be a little click button that says share sound or something like that, or optimize for sound. That should do it, but as you start the share, that's where it appears.
Okay, I'm not sure that I'll be able to do that. Would you like to share from your side then, Liz?
Let me try. Yeah, I'll give it a go. So this is Sue and Paul, just to check, this is the link that I have on YouTube, the YouTube link. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so bear with me. Oops. Let's see, I will go to share. Okay, share sound.
Hello, my name is Paul Christian, and I am the author of an article called Being Part of History, Being Part of Activism, and Exploring the Lives and Experiences of Black people with learning difficulties. I wrote this article with my co-researcher Sue Ledger for the British Journal of Learning Disability. It's about my work in the support of the Black Lives Matter movement. The life and experiences of Black British people with learning difficulties, like me, are often missing in history. There is a big gap in the history of learning difficulties and in British history more widely. The article explains that after the killing of George Floyd in America, I made the decision to step forward and get involved to help to stop racism. I wanted to do work that would help Black people with learning difficulties to be heard and to be part of history. This article talks about 3 pieces of my work: a scoping study to trace missing Black stories from the old institutions, being part of an advisory team for a COVID website, a project called Surviving Through Story, and working with Generate Race and Racism Group. The article shares our learning and next steps. It also tells the story of how Sue and I met and how we worked together in order to make this piece. This work is important because it demonstrates more research is needed to understand the experiences of Black people with learning difficulties. He was admitted to the old institutions. It also shows how people with learning difficulties are coming together to learn about Black history and to help to stop racism. It encourages people who might be interested in co-writing and to try it out. Sue and I would like to say a big thank you to our friends at Generate for their work on this with us. We really welcome others to join us in the work that we are doing. If you're interested or have any questions, please get in touch with us. Our contact details are in the article and on the screen down below.
Right, thanks. Just trying to share again.
Now that you've seen this film, you have seen the film. I will now explain a bit more about each of these projects and give a quick update on our progress. The first project is my research to find missing Black stories from the old UK institutions. Between 2014 and 2018, Sue and I worked on a history research project called My House, which was inspired by Maple Cooper's life story. My House shared the history of London disability institution in the UK. We did this through theatre, a music video, and museum exhibitions. My House presented the life story of activists such as Maple Cooper and Harvey Waterman, who had both lived in institutions for many years. Hearing their stories really gave me the idea for the research that I'm doing. Through My House, I was shocked to learn that in the past, thousands of people with learning disabilities were sent away from their families to live in really big institutions. In England, the last of these old long-stay institutions closed in 2009. Mabel and Harvey were both admitted to institutions, but they were white. Learning about their lives really made me curious about the experiences of Black British people like me who were also admitted to institutions. But I couldn't find any of their stories. Their stories were also missing from this history. I really wanted to hear their stories. I wanted to know if there was any Black people who were admitted to the institutions. I wanted to know how they were treated. I also really wanted to know if any Black people became activists after leaving an institution like Maple Cooper did. In 2021, I started to work with Sue to really try to find these missing stories. Our scoping studies received information about 30 people who described as being from African, Caribbean, or South Asian heritage. In 2022, the Open University funded a pilot research project to really explore these missing stories. We then co-wrote an ethics application. We also made an easy-read information to explain the research that we wanted to do. The University Ethics Panel gave us the go-ahead to start my project. We interviewed people with memories of Black people who were admitted to institutions. I led on most of the 17 interviews that we did. I then worked with Sue to analyze the interview's transcript. We used post-it notes to code words and sentences. We then organized the notes into the themes that we felt worked really best in reporting what we had found out. This way of analysis is called thematic analysis. We recorded 21 news stories of Black people who were admitted to institutions across England and Wales between 1960 to 2007. This included the story of Moses, who is a Black person with learning disabilities, who, like Maple Cooper, became a leading campaigner for the rights of people with learning disabilities after leaving an institution. I was so pleased to find this story. A Black person like me who became an activist just like Maple. I am co-writing a new journal article about the missing Black stories that we had found. The second project was my work as an advisor with Surviving Through Stories. This was a website set up at the start of the pandemic to really help people with learning disabilities share their stories and experiences and to really come together to support each other. I was a member of the advisory team. We monitored the news and made sure that the site included the experiences of Black people during the pandemic. This COVID support project has now finished, although you can still see all the stories on the Surviving Through Stories website. We are planning for this website to be deposited in a National Archive documenting the COVID-19 pandemic. This will include pieces that I wrote about the death of George Floyd, the importance of being called by a preferred name, and lockdown hair. In this way, stories on this website really become part of our history for the next generation to learn from. I helped to write an article about the impact of this project. This article really explains how sharing our stories really helped people during the pandemic. And the third project was my work with the George Padmore Institute in London to create Black History Easy Read for part of the collection. This work was in response to concerns raised by people with learning disabilities from Generate Red and Resistance Group. This group started to really meet and come together after the murder of George Floyd. They wanted to do work to stop racism and learn more about Black history. In 2020, Generate members started to learn about Black history. They told us that it has been really hard to find accessible information about Black history for people with learning disabilities. Generate members thought it was very important for people with learning disabilities to have access to Black history. They also said it was important to have words explained like racism and activism clearly explained. Listening to Generate members really inspired us to try to work with Black History Archive to make easy reads about items in their collection. We then approached the George Padmore Institute, which is in London, and asked if they would work with us, and they said yes. The George Padma Institute is an important Black History archive and research center. Sue and I both made 6 visits to the institute. We met up with the archivist, Sarah Goward. Sarah showed me around all the Black History collection. I then interviewed Sarah about the Black History stories. We took lots and lots of photographs of things in the Black History collection. We then worked with the George Padma Institute to make part of the collection more accessible. Before publication could roll out, the new easy reads were then reviewed by people that with learning disabilities from January and Professor Nicola Grove, who is a speech and language therapist and professional storyteller. Their feedback was and ideas were really important to us. They changed some of the words and imagery. They really helped us make the document much better. The first easy read is an introduction. It explains the importance of making history more accessible to people with learning disabilities. My second easy read tells the story of the life and achievements of John Lowell. He was an important Trinidadian leader and activist for the rights of Black people in Britain. And the third easy read tells the story of the New Cross Fire, which happened in 1981 in London, and the Black community protest that followed this. Tragically, 13 Black teenagers sadly died in the fire, but the police didn't arrest anyone. The families organized a huge protest. Each easy read had a section explaining any difficult words. In 2024, my Black History easy read was then approved by the George Padma Board of Trustees. In July 2024, the new Black History easy read was then launched. You can now read more about the project and download them for yourself from the George Padma Institute website. I recently published 2 articles to tell people more about the new easy reads. Each of these 3 projects in different ways really explores and highlights the lives and experiences of Black people like me who really live with the label of learning disability. In this way, my work focuses on the crossover or intersection between race and learning disabilities. Before finishing, I just want to say a bit about how the idea of intersectionality has really helped me and in my work. Kimberly Quincher, who is an activist and professor of law in the USA, first used the word intersectionality in the 1980s. She used the ideas of intersectionality to help people understand more about how different parts of ourselves can affect the way that they are treated by other people and systems. Each of my projects encourages looking at the world through the lens of a Black person who is living with a learning disabilities. These lives and experiences are often hidden. The way that I see it, that the project that I'm working on and will be leading on use the ideas of intersectionality to really direct a powerful beam of attention on these missing stories. The idea of intersectionality gives more of a framework to showcase of the missing Black stories and to see the impact of race and learning disability as they emerge across people's stories. This work can help really spotlight what Black people with learning disabilities face and have achieved. And the barriers people can face. I will be continuing to use intersectionality in my work going forward. So that is where I have got to up to with my work as I am leading in support of Black Lives Matter. I really do hope you have found this update really helpful. Liz will now say a few words to explain why the OU are supporting the work that I am leading on.
Thank you, Paul. So as Paul has showed, the killing of George Floyd was a very significant moment in the UK across society and culture, and raised actually a number of difficult questions for universities about what we were teaching our students and how we were teaching them. It prompted conversations about how inclusive and diverse our research really was. There are very few Black British researchers working in the field of learning disability in the UK and more widely. The membership of our Social History of Learning Disability group is predominantly white, and it became clear as we were having these conversations that this was skewing what we were researching and how we were researching. So the Open University, like many other UK universities, has taken its responsibility to diversify its teaching and its research very seriously. And we're also thinking hard about how we can sustain this change over the long term, working in part with colleagues outside of the university. So Paul's work has been really critical to shifting the debate within the Social History of Learning Disability group. Paul's work is opening up new lines of inquiry. And of course, Paul is a role model for other researchers. Paul's work also aligns with the Open University's mission to be open to people, places, methods, and ideas. And that's why the OU continues to support the work that Paul is leading. And our hope is that over the coming decade, Paul's work will inspire more researchers from Black and minority ethnic backgrounds in the UK, with and without learning disabilities, to get involved in learning disability research and historical activism. Back to you, Paul.
Thank you, Liz. I would now like to end our presentation by sharing a short film I made as part of my role on the Surviving the Story project. After watching this film, we will then have time to answer any few questions that you may have. Sharon, please can you play film 2? Thank you.
Sharon, would you like me to play that film? Would that be easier for me to I've got it loaded.
Liz, please go ahead. That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Lovely. Just please bear in mind, colleagues, this particular film, we're not quite sure why, but when it's transmitted through Zoom, the sound is quite quiet. So I've got everything turned up at my end, but just be aware that that the film is quite low on the volume. So I shall just make sure I'm all set up there.
It might help to then just up your volume, those that are on our call, if the sound is a bit soft. Thank you for that, Liz.
Thanks, Sharon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul Christian. My role on the Surviving the Story team is to monitor the news and to work with the rest of the Surviving the Story team and to make sure the site includes the experiences of Black people during the pandemic. The advisory group believes it is very important to think more about the treatment of Black people in this country and across the world. The connections between our lives today and Black history continues to matter a great deal. One very big and very upsetting event that happened during the pandemic was that on the 25th of May 2020 of last year, a Black man called George Floyd was killed by a policeman. This happened in a city called Minneapolis in America. During this first spring of the COVID-19 pandemic, myself and the other members of the Surviving the Story team joined the protest that happened afterwards in the UK. We feel that disabled people should have the chance to understand and to talk about the news and issues just like everyone else. People often assume that we don't have the mental capacity to engage with the news and that we don't understand the stories of discrimination and other difficult topics. This includes the campaign like Black Lives Matter. So they think it doesn't really matter to us, or it's too difficult or painful for us, that we need shelter and protection from this. But the way I see it, information is power. People with learning difficulties have the same rights like everyone else to hear about the news and to join in and to speak up against things that they don't agree with. This might mean making the needs more accessible. By doing this, we can be included in the fight to end racism for good. I would like to now finish by reading an excerpt from a piece I wrote for the Surviving Through Stories site. It's called George Floyd Said, "I Can't Breathe" before he died. George Floyd was 46 years old. He was the father of a 6-year-old child. George Floyd's death was such a brutal killing. Him saying, "I can't breathe," it reopened the wounds of Black people today and the wounds of the past. It got people talking about Black Lives Matter. When he said, "I can't breathe," it takes you back to slavery days. He said it so clearly and so many times, but the police ignored him, and then sadly he died. This should not have happened. Everyone counts. Everyone who is a black person, and everyone who has a learning difficulty. The respect should always be there. Respect is there as a measuring stick to build as a foundation of a character. It is important that the police should respect everyone and each other. I hope this little taster will at least tempt you into reading more of my article about the murder of George Floyd. You can find this piece on the Surviving Through Story website, with an accessible summary written by the wonderful Jade French that explains what happened to George Floyd, alongside the meaning of keywords such as racism and protest. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz. I'll just hand over to Paul to finish the last.
Thank you, Liz, for showing my film. In this film, I said that the connection between our lives today and the Black history continues to matter a great deal, even now. We feel that it's really important that people with learning disabilities have the chance to learn about Black history and to work to talk about the needs, including campaigns like Black Lives Matter, just like everyone else. We very much welcome others to please join us in her work in support of Black Lives Matter. As always, thanks for listening. So over to you now. Do you have any questions that you may have for us?
Thank you so much, Paul, Sue, and Liz. We have a couple of minutes for questions, maybe two. If there's anyone who would like to just go ahead and speak. I can't really see your name, so feel free to just put on your sound and ask your question or make your comment. Thank you. Thanks so much to all three of you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
There might be some comments in the chat.
There is a message in the chat, yes, from Melanie at the Western Cape Forum for Intellectual Disability. Thank you for creating such valuable resources. And yes, I mean, I would like you to just say that there are so many lessons learned from this presentation for us today. You say that those institutions have closed in 2009. Our institutions are still here. We still have people in those institutions. We don't have sufficient community-based mental health and other services in place. So we're very much a work in progress to achieve the goals that you have outlined in your presentations, Paul. Co-working, co-researching is a dream that we've only begun. So it's very inspiring for us to see this kind of work in action. So thank you so very much. Very grateful to you for your presentation. And there's another message. Thank you for a very inspiring talk. Perhaps then to just go over to you to ask if there are any last words. I don't think there are any questions other than the comments in the chat. We've got just a minute left before we need to close.
Yeah, I mean, as always, you talking to Cape Town has been more than a dream for me to talk to you today. Has been quite a journey. I mean, the amount of rehearsals that we've done, we've literally got up at every single day early at 7 a.m. Which is early even for me. It has been quite an achievement. So doing this not only once but twice has been something I would never thought I would ever do. So and talking to you again has been a dream of mine, and I hope that one day we can collaborate with each other.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much. There are messages in the chats pouring through, and perhaps if you'd like to read them. We will also upload this presentation to our website, and I can send you the link so that you can see those comments anew and see, you know, the embedded videos in an embedded presentation. Lots of messages coming through. So in closing, from myself, from the Division of Intellectual Disability in the Department of Psychiatry and Mental Health, and from those in the chat who are just speaking to your amazing presentation and the work that you're doing. Thank you so much to the three of you. And Paul, we are rooting for you and more work in this area. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.